Welcome everyone to the deep dive. Today we're diving headfirst into something really interesting in cybersecurity. You know, you often picture it as all about machines, complex code, firewalls, that
Yeah,
sort of thing.
right, the technical stuff.
Exactly, like a digital fortress. But the unexpected truth is probably the single most critical vulnerability and actually also your strongest defense. Well, it often walks right through the front door. We're talking about people, the human element,
The human firewall,
the
yes.
human firewall, that's it.
And that's spot on,
Mm.
especially for, any non-federal organization that handles controlled unclassified information or CUI.
Hmm.
And that could be anything, really, proprietary research, sensitive security info for things like railroads, you name it.
Mhm.
For them, the human factor isn't just, important. It's absolutely foundational. See, CUI isn't classified, but its confidentiality impact value was formally set as no less than moderate.
Okay, moderate. What does that really mean in practice?
Well, it's not just jargon. It means if CUI gets out, gets changed, gets lost.
Yeah.
You could be looking at significant financial hits, legal trouble, serious damage to your reputation.
Oh.
And depending on what the CUI is, maybe even impacts on public safety or, national security.
Wow.
So yeah, understanding this human element
Right.
and actually using it to your advantage, it's paramount.
That really puts it in perspective. It's not just an IT problem, it's an everyone problem. Every single person plays a part, whether they realize it or not.
Exactly.
So the big challenge we're trying to unpack today is how do we actually empower every single person? How do we get them from being a potential weak link to being, well, a strong defender?
Yeah.
How do we build that culture where security awareness is just normal?
That's precisely the mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack the Awareness and Training Control family. That's Section 3.2 from the latest NIST SP 800-171 Revision 3. And this NIST publication, it isn't just some dry document. It's really a blueprint. It gives recommended security requirements to protect the confidentiality of CUI when it's sitting in non-federal systems and organizations. It's all about building security from the people up.
And these aren't just vague ideas, right? They're actual concrete requirements designed to build that security culture.
Absolutely. And today we're drilling down into two main requirements in this family. First is 03.02.01. That covers literacy training and awareness. Think of it as the universal baseline security knowledge everyone needs.
Got it, the foundation.
Right. And then second, we'll get into 03.02.02, which is role-based training. That takes the foundation and specializes it for specific jobs.
Ah, okay, so general knowledge first, then specific skills.
Exactly. And it's worth noting, both of these actually stem from the broader NIST SP 800-53 controls. So there's this effort to ensure a consistent, solid level of CUI protection, whether it's in a federal agency or, a non-federal company handling CUI.
Okay, let's really unpack this then. We're going to look at the why, the what, and the practical how for each one. Let's get into it. All right, let's kick things off with that foundational piece. 03.02.01, literacy training and awareness. Ever have that moment? You're about to click a link in an email, and there's this little pause, this tiny voice asking, wait, is this legit?
That hesitation.
Yeah. Or maybe you get an email that seems just a bit too specific about something you were just doing or thinking. That little flicker of doubt, that pause, that's exactly what this whole section is about, nurturing, giving that gut feeling some backup with real knowledge.
That's a great way to frame it. The why behind this general security literacy is, well, it's absolutely fundamental. It's the bedrock, really. The whole point is making sure all system users, and that means everyone, top executives, managers, interns, contractors, everybody gets the basics of security risks. And crucially, they need to understand their own personal role in protecting CUI. This matters so much because things like information flow control, where CUI can go and how it's protected as it moves, that depends heavily on what users actually do with the information.
Right. So even the best tech can be undone by one wrong click.
Precisely. If someone accidentally opens the door, even the strongest locks don't help much. It's about making the people just as strong as the technology.
And that's a really interesting shift, isn't it? It's not just installing software. It's about changing how people think, making everyone security literate.
Yeah.
This basic literacy, it's your first defense against those really broad attacks, the ones that play on human trust, or, frankly, just a lack of awareness. Think about phishing emails or someone calling pretending to be tech support.
Classic social engineering.
Exactly. Or even just someone tailgating into a secure area behind an employee who's not paying attention. These things bypass tech controls completely if the person isn't aware, isn't trained. The goal is to wire in that security mindset, so recognizing these common threats becomes almost instinctive.
Spot on. Okay, so let's get into the specific actions and rules in 03.02.01. First up, who gets this training?
Right. Who needs it?
The NIST guidance is really clear. System users. And it clarifies that includes managers, senior executives, system administrators, and contractors. Basically everyone.
No exception.
None. Foundational security knowledge is for everybody, no matter their job title or department. It's about getting everyone on the same page.
Okay. And when does this training need to happen? Is it just a one-off thing?
Definitely not. It's an ongoing process. It's required as part of initial training for new users. So right from day one, during onboarding.
Makes sense.
Then it has to be done periodically thereafter. You need regular refreshers because, well, threats change, right? What was relevant last year might not be the big thing this year. Training's also needed when required by system changes. New software, new processes, these can bring new risks users need to know about. And finally, it's required following assignment, organization-defined events.
Ah, that assignment part. That means the organization decides some triggers.
Exactly. It gives flexibility. An organization can say, okay, if we have a major security incident or a new regulation comes out or an audit finds something specific, that triggers retraining for the relevant people.
Okay, good. So it's adaptable. Now, what's actually covered in this literacy training? What do people need to learn?
It's pretty comprehensive. It starts with just a general understanding of the need for security. Why is this important? Then it moves into the actions required of users to maintain security, like their day-to-day responsibilities.
Like locking your screen, reporting weird stuff?
Exactly. It covers how users should respond to incidents. What do you do if you do see something weird? It also touches on operations, security, and really importantly, the proper handling of CUI, from creation to disposal. But maybe the most critical part highlighted is training on recognizing and reporting indicators of insider threat, social engineering, and social mining. These are often the trickiest ones because they exploit people, not just tech flaws.
Right, the human vulnerabilities. Let's break those down a bit. Insider threat first. That sounds serious.
It can be, but it's not always malicious. Sometimes it's an employee who's maybe compromised or just makes a mistake. The framework points out specific behaviors to watch for, things like inordinate long-term job dissatisfaction, trying to access info they don't need for their job, maybe unexplained access to financial resources, bullying or sexual harassment, workplace violence, or other serious policy violations.
So it's not just about catching spies. It's about noticing when someone might be struggling or acting out in ways that could create risk.
Exactly. And the key isn't just knowing the signs. It's building a culture where people feel okay raising concerns, where it's seen as offering support or intervention, not just pointing fingers. It's about identifying vulnerability before something bad happens, intentionally or not.
That's a much healthier way to look at it. Okay, what about social engineering? We hear that term a lot.
Right. It's basically psychological manipulation, tricking people into giving up info or doing something that compromises security. Firewalls block malicious code, but social engineering targets our human nature, trust, helpfulness, fear, curiosity.
And it still works depressingly well, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Human error, often driven by social engineering, is still behind a huge percentage of data breaches, some say over 80%. NIST lists several types. Phishing usually emails, but could be texts or calls. Pretexting, making up a believable story to gain trust. Impersonation, pretending to be someone else, like the boss or IT support. Then there's baiting, offering something tempting, like a free USB drive that has malware. Quid pro quo, offering help for info. Threadjacking, slipping into an existing email chain. Social media exploitation, using public info from LinkedIn or Facebook to target attacks. And tailgating, just physically following someone into a secure area.
Wow, that's a lot of ways to trick people.
It is, and they all bypass tech defenses by going after the person.
Okay, and the third one was social mining. What's that?
Think of it like reconnaissance before an attack. It's the attempt to gather information about the organization that may be used to support future attacks. Attackers just passively collect bits and pieces of info from public sources, social media, company websites, news, job postings.
Like piecing together a puzzle.
Exactly. They build a profile of the organization, its people, its tech, and then they use that intelligence to make their phishing emails super convincing or their pretexting calls sound totally legit. Understanding that even seemingly harmless public info can be used against you is a key part of awareness.
Okay, that makes sense. So we know who, when, and what. Now, how is this training actually delivered? It can't just be a boring lecture, right?
Hopefully not. This is where organizations can really get creative. The framework says content should be tailored based on specific organizational requirements, the systems personnel have authorized access to, and work environments like telework. So remote workers might need slightly different training than factory workers.
And the methods.
They can be really diverse and engaging. Think beyond PowerPoint, maybe displaying posters but cool eye-catching ones in the break room. Or offering supplies inscribed with security reminders, like a pen saying, "Think before you click."
Huh, subtle.
Right. Or displaying logo-on-screen messages with timely warnings. Even email advisories from organizational officials, if they're short and trusted. And then there are dynamic things like conducting awareness events using podcasts, videos, and webinars.
Hey, like this.
Exactly. Audio and video can be super effective for making these messages stick, making it part of a regular learning habit.
Okay, and keeping it fresh is important too, right? Updates.
Absolutely critical. The training content has to be updated periodically and following assignment, organization-defined events. Security training isn't static. It's got to evolve. Triggers for updates could be assessment or audit findings, security incidents or breaches, or changes in applicable laws, regulations, policies, etc.
So it keeps pace with the threats and the rules.
Right. And one more key thing. Organizations need measures to test the knowledge level of users.
Yeah.
You can't just deliver training. You need to check if people actually understood it and can apply it. Quizzes, simulated phishing tests, scenario questions, something to gauge if it actually sunk in.
Let's make this concrete. Imagine a company, say Secure Gear Inc. Mid-sized manufacturing, they handle CUI like sensitive security information for their shipping logistics, maybe railcar designs or supply chain security plans. For their initial literacy training, Secure Gear would meet everyone involved. Factory floor techs, the CEO, everyone gets the baseline. But it wouldn't just be a video they click through.
Right, it'd be more like a campaign.
Exactly. They'd cover the basics. What is CUI? How do I spot it?
Yeah.
What are the simple rules? Lock your screen. Don't leave printouts lying around. Shred properly. Big focus on phishing, showing real examples, pointing out the telltale signs like bad grammar, urgent demands, weird sender addresses.
Make it real.
Yeah. And they'd also cover those insider threat indicators we talked about, emphasizing reporting is about helping, not accusing.
And to make it stick.
They wouldn't stop there. Maybe a monthly security newsletter, short, punchy, maybe with the fish of the month, interactive quizzes on the internet, maybe with little prizes, short videos like mini deep dives on specific topics, maybe simulating a fake tech support call.
Oh, nice. Practice scenarios.
Right. And definitely regular simulated phishing tests. If someone clicks, they get instant micro-training, turning that mistake into a learning moment. It's about using different methods to keep security top of mind for everyone.
That sounds much more effective.
And here's the thing. Literacy training isn't just compliance. It's really about building that security culture where everyone feels like they can be that first line of defense. It's about changing habits, making people actively think about security. That makes the whole organization way more resilient.
Turns that potential weak link into a strong shield.
It's actually the living firewall. So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening? Considering those social engineering types or insider threat signs, which one do you think is the hardest for people to actually spot day to day? Is it the clever pre-texting call? Or maybe recognizing those subtle behavior changes that might indicate an insider issue?
Good question.
Or have you ever had that aha moment yourself? Almost clicked something bad, then caught yourself. We'd love to hear your thoughts or questions. Drop a comment below. Let's keep this conversation rolling.
Okay, let's switch gears now to the second requirement here. 03.02.02 role-based training. So if literacy training was like general education, the basics everyone needs.
Go 101 course?
Right. Then role-based training is like getting your specialized degree. It's CUI protection tailored specifically for your job. It's about really understanding the risks and responsibilities that apply directly to what you do every day. That's a perfect analogy. The why here builds right on that general awareness. Everyone needs the basics, sure. But certain roles have unique access, unique technical duties, unique ways they interact with CUI.
Like admins versus developers.
Exactly. This training tailors security education to those specific assigned duties, roles, and responsibilities. It makes the whole security program much more effective because you're ensuring that the people doing highly technical things or handling the most sensitive stuff have specific expert knowledge. It's kind of like applying least privilege, but to knowledge, give people the deep training they need for their specific security-relevant tasks, not just a generic overview.
And those tasks could be anything from setting up accounts to configuring firewalls, right?
Yeah, establishing accounts, setting privileges, installing software, configuring access rules, even setting up vulnerability scans or intrusion detection. Very specific stuff.
And what's really interesting is how specific it gets. It's not just what info you access, but how you access it, how you process it, the tools you use in your role.
Right.
An IT admin handles CUI totally differently than a software developer or someone in procurement. Each role has different touch points, different processes, and so different ways things could potentially go wrong if they're not trained properly for their job.
Different risks.
So this specialized training helps protect CUI throughout its whole life cycle, processing, storage, transmission, by making sure the right controls are understood and applied correctly by the people actually doing the work.
Precisely. It makes the policies real for those specific roles.
Oh.
Okay, so let's look at the what for role-based training. Who gets this specialized training?
Is it a smaller group than the general literacy?
Generally, yes. The requirement says organizational personnel, but then it lists specific roles. System developers, enterprise architects, security architects, software developers, systems integrators, acquisition procurement officials, system and network administrators, plus people doing configuration management, auditing, verification and validation, security assessments, and anyone with access to system-level software.
Wow, that's a very technical list.
It is. It highlights the need for deep specialized understanding for these folks because their actions directly shape the security posture.
Okay. And when does this happen? Before they start the job?
Yes. It's required before authorizing access to the system, or CUI, and before performing assigned duties. Get them trained before they can potentially make a mistake in their specialized role.
Smart.
And just like literacy training, it's also needed periodically thereafter to keep skills sharp and updated. And again, when required by system changes or following assignment, organization-defined events. That flexibility for organization-specific triggers is still there.
Got it. So what's covered in role-based training? How different is it?
The key is tailoring and specificity. The content and frequency are based on the assigned duties, roles, and responsibilities, and the security requirements in the systems they access. It's not generic. It's highly customized.
Right.
And it explicitly calls for security-related technical training for those specialized roles we listed. So an admin gets deep training on secure configurations, patching, access controls. A developer focuses hard on secure coding, input validation, maybe secure API use. The technical depth is much higher than the general awareness training.
Okay. And updates? Same deal. Keep it current.
Absolutely. Role-based training content also needs to be updated periodically and following assignment, organization-defined events. These events could be anything: a new major vulnerability discovered, an audit finding a process flaw, a change in CUI rules, new best practices in their field. It has to stay dynamic because the tech and the threats are always changing.
Okay, let's try another example. That healthcare data firm, Metasecure Solutions, handling sensitive patient records as CUI. Role-based training there would be super critical, right?
Absolutely essential. Different people handle that patient data in very different ways.
So for their IT administrators, the training would get really technical, yeah. Digging into specific NIST controls.
Definitely. They'd probably cover account management, like Control 3.1.1 in detail, how to properly define, create, enable, modify, disable, remove accounts. Managing groups, setting access rights securely, all vital for protecting patient CUI. They need deep dives into least privilege, maybe referencing controls 3.1.5, 3.1.6, 3.1.7, really mastering how to lock down access to only what's needed, ensuring privileged users use regular accounts for non-security stuff, preventing non-privileged users from doing things they shouldn't, like messing with security settings.
Okay. What else for admins?
Probably system use notification related to 3.1.9, making sure those warning banners pop up correctly before login. And device lock, like 3.1.0, configuring systems to lock automatically after inactivity, or requiring manual locks, all about protecting CUI access points.
Okay, now shift to Metasecure software developers. Totally different training, right?
Completely. Their focus would be heavily on secure coding practices, tying into system and information integrity, like controls 3.14 and 4.11 on flaw remediation, and 3 and 1.4.4.2 on malicious code protection.
So writing code that's hard to break and resists malware.
Exactly. Learning about common coding vulnerabilities, how malware like viruses, worms, Trojans get in emails, web downloads, USBs, understanding secure development life cycles, building security in from the start, rigorous testing to find and fix flaws before deployment.
And preventing malware.
Yeah, training on configuring malware protection scanning systems, scanning files from outside sources, knowing how to block or quarantine threats, plus maybe insights from system and services acquisition like 3.16.1 on how to build security requirements into any software they buy or contract out, not just what they build in-house.
Baking security in everywhere. Okay, one more. The procurement officials at Metasecure, what's their role-based training look like?
Again, very different. Their focus is supply chain risk management, using controls like 3.17.1, 3.17.2, 3.17.3. They need to learn how to develop and implement a plan for managing risks in their supply chain, specifically related to CUI.
So vetting vendors carefully.
Right. Putting CUI protection requirements directly into vendor contracts. Selecting partners who can show they take security seriously. Maybe even using advanced tactics like obscuring who the end customer is for certain components to deter targeted attacks, or using blind buys.
Interesting.
And things like requiring tamper-evident packaging for hardware. Also, how to structure contracts to incentivize suppliers to be secure and transparent. It's about making sure CUI protection extends all the way through the supply chain, not just inside their own walls.
Wow. That really shows how tailored this training needs to be.
Yeah, and if you connect all that back to the big picture, role-based training isn't just about stopping mistakes. It's about really optimizing the organization's security by using that specialized knowledge effectively. It directly helps achieve that consistent level of protection for CUI across everything the organization does. It ensures people aren't just aware, but actually competent and responsible for the security tasks specific to their job.
It turns that specialized knowledge into a really strong defense. This makes me wonder, for everyone listening, thinking about those specific roles, admins, developers, procurement, what do you think is the most overlooked security topic that should always be in their role-based training? Is there something crucial that often gets missed?
Yeah, what's falling through the cracks?
Or if you've had this kind of training, what's one specific practical skill you learned that really made a difference in your work? Something that genuinely helped you protect sensitive info. We'd love to hear your perspective. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground today. To kind of wrap it up, this awareness and training family, section 3.2 in NIST SP 800-171A3, it's just, well, it's fundamental for protecting CUI.
Absolutely foundational.
It's that two-pronged approach we talked about. First, the broad literacy training and awareness, that's 3.2.1 for everyone. Get that baseline understanding solid across the board. And then second, that targeted, specialized role-based training, 3.2.2, for people with specific CUI duties, really deepening their expertise where it counts.
And that's the key takeaway. These controls really hammer home that idea that the confidentiality impact value for CUI is no less than moderate. Protecting CUI, whether it's railroad plans, patient data, research, it's always a big deal.
You're right.
And human awareness, vigilance, specialized skills, they're just as critical, maybe even more so, than any tech control in achieving that protection. These requirements ensure non-federal orgs have well-trained, proactive people. And that's absolutely crucial for maintaining that consistent level of protection for CUI wherever it lives in their systems. That human firewall, it really is one of your strongest defenses.
So here's a final thought to chew on. We know the NIST framework evolves, right? Parameters get changed, requirements get added or updated to deal with new threats. So how does your organization make sure its awareness and training programs are just as dynamic, just as adaptable?
Good question. Is the training keeping pace?
Yeah. What's one small change you could maybe push for today? A new way to deliver a module, a different way to foster that security culture, something to make your organization's human firewall even stronger for whatever comes next. All right, next time on the deep dive, we're shifting gears again. We'll be tackling another really critical control family, audit and accountability. Specifically, we're going to pull back the curtain on event logging. That's requirement 3.3.1. Get ready to find out what's really going on behind the scenes in your systems.
Yeah, what the logs are telling us.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into awareness and training. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and yeah, stay secure out there.
And always remember, knowledge really is your most powerful defense.
We'll see you next time.